Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. So over the weekend, I took a trip out to Osceola County, and as I have explained before on the channel, I grew up in Kissimmee, and I do have my parents still live there, and so I'm very familiar with the area. Obviously, it's changed a great deal since I graduated there in 1996. Guess I'll age myself a bit there. But I do visit there quite regularly, the Kissimmee area, to visit my parents during the year. So I drove out from my parents' home to the site. I'm going to refer to it as Maddie's memorial site, because referring to it as where he dumped her is to me it's very disrespectful. So I drove out to the memorial site from my parents' house. Now, I didn't take any shortcuts or anything like that, and it took us about 42 to 43 minutes, somewhere in there. And this is going down 192 from Valencia, part of town there, from Valencia campus, that side of town, to down through 192, and it's taking you to Old Canoe Creek Road down to Hickory Tree. That, like I said, it's very extensive. Now, that said, if Stephan was taking her down there from the apartments, the condominiums where they were living, that was Venetian Bay. So that would have been off of Hoagland, near the old Osceola Square Mall. I am blanking on the name of the mall right now because it's been renamed. I think everything always goes back to the way it has been for years and years, and when you've lived somewhere. But it is behind the mall there, and it's right off of Hoagland, not far from Dyer and Columbia. So that would take, depending upon the route you took, it could take you anywhere from 37 minutes to an hour. I would say it's going to depend upon if you take a toll road, back roads, or straight 192, and of course traffic, time of day, all those sorts of things. So let me actually pull up the map so you guys can kind of see here. Okay, so this right here, I'm just pulling it up on Google Maps. And this right here would be, these are all tolls. And to me, this is pretty short, because I estimated it at one point at about like 52 minutes. So again, I think it's going to depend, and this is another toll road. All right, so if we were to take out avoid tolls, let's do that. So if you're avoiding tolls, and this is right now as I record this is 7:45. You could probably see the time in the bottom here. I'm probably not going to get this video up till some point Tuesday. But so you're talking, if you did not take a toll road, and I'm not so sure that he would have taken a toll road. He was captured on some cameras, I believe on John Young Parkway, but I think that was earlier in the morning when he was pretending to drop her off at Hunters Creek Middle School. So you're gonna look at, he's gonna be pretty much taking probably around 40 minutes to 52 minutes. Let's say that, depending upon the time of day. And if he took her there in the afternoon, because he was spotted around 1:30-ish, 1:20, 1:30-ish, changing a flat not far from where they located her remains, well, that's going to be a pretty busy time of day. So I'm gonna say 45 to 50 minutes on average. Let's just say that. So again, this is coming from the Venetia Bay Village's condominiums to, and this goes, you put it in as Madeline Soto Memorial because it is actually listed as such. So I'm going to show you guys my video here shortly. So again, it's not a short drive, and it took me on a Sunday afternoon. I think we went up there around the same time, really. It was between 1:32-ish, somewhere in there. And like I said, it took us 40 some odd minutes just straight through on 192. So it's not a short drive whatsoever. And you're going to go through a ton of back roads, and this is totally desolate. It's not as close to 192 as I actually thought it was. Alright, so this is the video here I shot. I have muted the clip because it was super windy out there, and anything that I said was pretty much useless. So, this is the road me coming from 192 would have been coming from that side. And this is the property here. Then this is Hickory Tree Road. Okay, there wasn't many cars at all coming down here when I was out there. At all. And this is the property that he dumped her at. This gate was open that day. The property owner said it's normally locked, and you're going to see there is a lock here. Okay, it is normally locked and padlocked. See, it's got a chain and a padlock, and normally no one can get back there. It's not even possible. That day, it was a fluke. They had left it unpadlocked, and I guess he was looking for a place to get rid of her, and that's where he went. And I feel really bad for these poor folks that own this property and live out there, because they blame themselves. And there's a car actually going by right there. So I think I saw maybe half a dozen cars, tops 10 cars while I was out there. They couldn't have done anything for Maddie. She was deceased that morning, maybe potentially the night before, but she was definitely deceased by about, 8:19, 8:20. That's what law enforcement is stating right now. Obviously, once we get the medical examiner's report and all that, we'll know more. But again, this is the location where Stephan Sterns allegedly dumped her body. I think it was super quiet out there. It's a desolate road. So he definitely had, I think, some time to do that. And it's unfortunate for him. It's fortunate for, the case, but it's unfortunate for him that he had a flat tire. But I think that's a divine intervention. Unfortunately, it didn't save her life either. But again, that is the location out there in St. Cloud. And as you guys could see, it really is very, very quiet. And I'm going to post a couple pictures here I took of the road. There's pretty much nothing on each end. You have to drive a little bit to get to anything. And there are some properties out there, because it used to be quite a farmlands out there in St. Cloud. But obviously they're building more things and everywhere they go. So there's not a lot of rural anymore, even anywhere you go. But also, let me show you the bit of the memorial. And here's a bit of the memorial to get a better look at it, folks that are been wanting to see it. There have been a lot of nice photos and stuff on some of the Facebook groups, but this is the memorial. Beautifully, everyone who has maintained this, I know there's a group that goes out there. They're doing an excellent job. There's a bench there. You can leave a note for Maddie. I left her a note. I know the property owners, the only thing they're asking is not to leave any balloons because of the, animals and all that out there. But, I mean, look at the love for this girl who went through unspeakable things. Unspeakable evil. And this community really, really has come out to show their love for sweet Madeline Soto. And I felt her presence out there. I really did. And I promised her that we're all not going to give up on her. And I don't think this whole child, PORN, CSAM, for those, again, that's child stuff. I'm just trying to be really careful with the YouTube censors. I believe personally that Stephan Sterns knew the Coxes. Okay? Now, James Cox and his son Henry Cox, they lived about 10 minutes from the location where Stephan dumped her body. And I drove it from the site, and I drove out there and found the home. And the street, it's like any other neighborhood street. Totally different than this spot. Families were outside. There was kids playing on tricycles. It's disturbing to me what a nice neighborhood it truly was. And you had these two nasty monsters living inside this home, doing unspeakable things. And these parents probably thought they were really good, nice guys. It's very, very disturbing. So this is the home of James and Henry Cox, St. Cloud Santa. We are not hearing a lot about this case. It's a federal case. He's still being held, James, and that mailbox creeps me out, guys. That mailbox just creeps me out. So we're not hearing a lot about this, and I fear that they're going to try to kind of sweep it under the rug, and that to me is not okay. It's just not okay. So there's very, very few news stories on this case, on James Cox's arrest and his son's taking his life, pew-pewing himself. Very few pieces of information about it. Handful of news pieces that all came out within a day or two of the raid on the Cox home. So the timeline basically is that Maddie Soto went missing on February 26th, which was a Monday. Remember, Stephan Sterns' cell phone was taken, a couple days later, and she was found on March 1st. Then the raid was on the March 5th. While both James Cox and his son, Henry Cox, were under investigation, and I have quite a lot of documents about that, and I'm still sifting through more, they just did not arrest them just yet. There was a lot going on in that house, and I believe there was some things found on Stephan's phone. Something was found on his phone, if not some things, that led them to do this raid within days of finding Madeline.
Developing tonight, Homeland Security agents, law enforcement officers, and the medical examiner all flood into a community in St. Cloud.
Yeah, we've learned they were investigating a father and son accused of producing child porn. The son shot and killed himself before a federal warrant could be served. News 6's Catherine Silver was out on Countryside Drive today, speaking with neighbors shaken by this investigation.
I don't think anybody else lives there.
We were talking to neighbors on Countryside Drive when we noticed a man and a dog outside the home at the center of a federal investigation.
Hello? Excuse me?
By the time we got to the door, no one answered. Tuesday, this house was raided by Homeland Security, and James Cox appeared in federal court.
I think that had to be somebody related to the family, if not a member of the family. Because from what I could tell from records that I was able to pull up, the only two that were actually living there were James and his son Henry.
Court. Neighbors tell us he went by the nickname Santa. Documents show he and his son Henry Cox are accused of distributing and producing child porn.
I keep waiting to hear, no, it's not true.
That neighbor we spoke to did not want to show her face on camera, but she told us it's shocking.
So you knew James and Henry?
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to Jim and Henry for years. They fished in my backyard. They've played with the kids in the neighborhood.
Investigators do not share the identity of victims in cases like this. What we are learning from this criminal complaint is this investigation started when St. Cloud police received a cyber tip in November.
Okay, they received a tip in November of 2023. The St. Cloud Police Department received a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, as we know as NCMEC, alleging an unknown person was uploading child SA material, CSAM, to Microsoft Bing image. Remember, we all figured that out, that was like a Google for images. Microsoft Bing image, referred to as visual search, is a service that allows users to provide an image and search for similar images on the internet. The user can provide the image to be searched by either an upload or as a URL. The date and time provided on the cyber tip indicates the time at which the image was received and was evaluated by Bing Image Service. Again, they were being investigated for quite some time. But they just didn't have enough, or they were waiting to get more in their net. I don't know how that exactly works. But something made them raid that house on March 5th. Something made them raid that house. And again, I don't think it's any coincidence that it wasn't long after the whole Madeline Soto disappearance and after the arrest of Stephan Sterns, and looking through his cell phone and probably if he had a laptop or whatever else he had. I don't think it was any coincidence at all.
In January, they found hard drives with explicit images when they searched the home, and some of the videos captured Henry's face and voice.
Roped off crime scene, and then I heard too that there was a dead body removed.
St. Cloud police say Henry Cox took his own life before a federal arrest warrant could be served against him and his father Tuesday morning. James Cox is in custody in Seminole County. Catherine Silver, Getting Results, News 6.
I think that Henry, maybe James, but from what I understand, Henry was friends on Facebook with Stephan Sterns. That does not mean that Madeline was in that home, but maybe they had images of Madeline from Sterns. And I don't know if we're ever going to find that out. But you remember with the presser on Friday, that made me think, or is Kissimmee Police Department connecting the dots with Homeland Security on this one? There are a lot of sexual predators in the area that Santa lives. A lot of them. quick background search of him showed me, I think, at least 20. And I'm thinking that's probably low. And I'm sure lots of other neighborhoods have them, but you could see in the background behind the newscaster, again, it's a nice neighborhood. But aren't most of them? Who would have thought? And who would have thought a Santa Claus? Who would have thought someone who should be, your kids should be able to trust, and you should be able to trust your kids around them. But you can't do that anymore. You cannot trust your children with anyone. You can't trust them with a boyfriend, a girlfriend. You just can't. I mean, it's always been this way, but it's just worse. I think it's worse than ever before. So here is the sex abuse registry for James Cox. Now this was updated after his arrest on March 5th. As you can see, they list a 12-year-old, 8-year-old, and I think that that's just the beginning. But there's his ugly mug. James Cox was arrested Tuesday, this would have been March 5th again, on child PORN charges while they found Henry Cox pew-pewed himself in the head before the search warrant was executed. That's because Henry chickened out, took the easy way down to see the devil, in my opinion. Federal agents, they've been working on investigating James Cox and his son since late 2023 for producing and uploading CSAM. Charges date back to at least 2022. I think it's much further back, or they'll find more. This all comes after an investigation that began in November 2023 when St. Cloud police received a tip that someone was uploading child CSAM material online. Later, they learned it was of a 12-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl who live in the neighborhood. I hope that those kids are getting all the help that they need. I truly, truly do. As well as any other child who was victimized by these nasty, nasty monsters. Some video contained Henry Cox abusing children, while other material was recorded of children using a public restroom. Neighborhood children knew James Cox as Santa. They say he dressed up like him year-round, approaching children. Okay, guys, if someone in your neighborhood looks like him and dresses up as Santa year-round, and he invites your kids over for popsicles to play in the pool and all that stuff in his big blue house, something is very, very wrong. Do not let your children go near people like James Cox and his son Henry. According to Channel 9, Henry Cox worked in some capacity at a foster home with DCF. Yeah. And I've heard that as well from Sam, one of our commenters here, has been able to find out some information. And I'm still looking up more background on both James and Henry. Very, very disturbing. It does seem that James mostly has a lot of traffic violations. There is a couple other issues when he was not living in Florida, but nothing involving children that I could find so far. Henry, I haven't finished with that one yet. Again, father and son are inviting the neighborhood kids over, and it wasn't just to swim in the pool. So I believe this whole thing with Madeline, it really is going to open up a lot. I think that, again, there's a ring in Osceola County. There's probably more than that. You've got someone playing Santa Claus, his son working with DCF around kids. You got Stephan Sterns, who worked at Disney. And yes, he worked at Disney. There's plenty of evidence, receipts for that. Disney can deny it all they want. They deny it all the time when Grady over there just tells them he arrested a bunch of their folks. Disney goes, oh, they don't work here. No, no, no. That's because they're not hired through the casting center. They hired them through a third party. But guess what? They still work on Disney property. Yeah. So Stearns worked there, and all these guys were around children. They didn't work there because they wanted to go to Disney. He didn't work there for that. He worked to be around the kids. I just feel so horrible again for Maddie. This sweet, sweet girl. Barely 13. Abused for at least 2 years. We don't know if it was longer. And I believe mom knew. Mom was involved. My opinion is Jennifer Soto is guilty of something, if not much more. Again, like I stated after the presser on Friday, I think they were calling her out. I think the chief is calling her out. And they're going to see what she's doing. Stephan's in jail. They don't have to worry about him. He ain't going anywhere. But what about mom? There's no way she didn't know what was happening to her daughter. There is no way. Not after reading the probable cause, all the things that he did to her, all these images that they located, that he tried to erase through an accidental factory reset. There's no way. Not even a tripod could get the angles that they were describing. It is sick. He had someone else there with him, and if these happened all in their apartment, which is what the statement's saying, the affidavit clearly states that, well, someone had to help him take those photos. So what were you doing, Jennifer? What were you doing when your boyfriend was abusing your child? What were you doing? Furthermore, what were you doing on the night of her birthday party? Were you really working? Or was that a convenient excuse? Was this all planned ahead of time? Did you purposely make sure you couldn't be there? So many questions about what happened the night of that birthday party, Sunday night. And I'm starting to wonder if she wasn't deceased before the morning hours, before 8 o'clock in the morning. Medical examiner's report will give us a lot of information on that. But again, I do think we're going to find out she was strangled. That's, I'm guessing. Potentially drugged in many ways. And I know people wondering if she was pregnant. I don't know. She could be. But hopefully we'll get that medical examiner's report soon. And that will definitely answer a lot of things. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Again, I'm following this one all the way through. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And most of all, stay safe.